of the Center for African Renaissance Studies at UNISA. He's, of course, in our Pretoria studios. Professor, it's so lovely having you on the program, and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the viewers.
Now, one of the reasons cited for the postponement was the issue of classified documents by the Department of Defense and Arms Corps. The question asked is why did they wait until now to sort out this issue, of access to confidential documents?
Well, I think that the Commission has really been moving at a very slow pace. Mind you, it was established almost 2.5 years ago, and it has done very little. And they indicated that they were really putting the process together. It is not easy to establish a commission. You have to look at the logistics, the finance, and everything else. And meeting now to say that the declassification of classified documents is still an issue is very disturbing. But I think also one matter which I believe only the President can deal with is the question of composition of the commission. As we know, there has been resignation of a senior staff member, and most recently and most significant is of one of the commissioners, which therefore creates the problem which was noted when it started meeting yesterday, that whether it is quorate or not quorate. And the President has to make quite a speedy decision on that.
Yeah. Now, yesterday you said the arms deal gives an impression that the inquiry is on the government's procurement, that on the deal signed. Where should the real focus be investigated?
Well, I think that the terms that the President set for the Commission were too broad and touch on issues of policy, whether or not, it was appropriate to purchase these arms and all of those. Those are not very relevant because those are matters of policy. The terms of reference should have been narrowed down to the question of was there value for the money that was paid? Was there any corruption or bribery that took place between the suppliers and the purchaser, that is us as a country? And we need to know who was paid what. And then the quality of what was purchased, not whether we should have purchased them or not, but were there with the value. Because if there's corruption, sometimes you end up purchasing arms or equipment that could have been bought at a cheaper rate elsewhere without corruption. Those are the kind of issues that needs to be focused on.
While, of course, it is constitutional for the Commission to report to President Jacob Zuma, is it still credible when the President himself is actually implicated?
Yeah, that is another issue, and I think it goes back to the whole question of the terms of reference, which have been broadened so much. It should have focused on issues of particularly those who we know in the public domain and the complaints that were laid, for example, by the whistleblower, Patricia DeLille, and so on. The focus should have been on who have been mentioned in them. We know that there were other cases where, for example, Shabir Sheikh and so on were convicted. We need to know who are on the other side, because he cannot conspire and be corrupt without having another side of it within government. Those are the kind of issues. And I think that reporting to the President, and the President is the one who sets the terms of reference, does throw a whole lot of questions which we need to examine. The Constitution simply says under Section 84 that the President establishes commissions of inquiry. It doesn't give a proviso which says, but in matters where the President is involved, who should actually establish a commission of inquiry. I think that is a matter which is, has a very strong constitutional dimension which needs to be reviewed.
Questions, of course, also being raised regarding the 6 months period, report back to the period, to the president, I beg your pardon. Instead of allowing the process to complete itself, is this a common practice? Is this a common phenomenon?
Well, there has to be a time limit. Mind you, it is very costly. There will be high-profile lawyers involved in the inquiry. Those who are going to give evidence need legal representation. And if it drags on and on, then it is a matter which can go beyond the current presidency. So it is important that the matter be done as quickly as possible, so that we know justice delayed is justice denied. Already there's been a delay. So the question of speeding up is important, but that has to be backed up by having a fully composed commission, having resources available so that the matter can move faster. But I believe that the chairperson of the commission, Justice Riti, has a responsibility also to win the confidence back of the public, because the public is already trying to doubt whether this is going anywhere or whether it is just woodwinking the public and so on.
All right, Professor Shadrack Gutto, thank you so much for talking to us. Professor Gutto is the director for the Center of African Renaissance Studies at the University of South Africa. That's UNISA.